Welcome to After School with Mr. Van Huss, episode 30. If you like science, this is the episode for you because today I'm talking to somebody who is not only a former student at Station Camp High School, but was also a former teacher at Station Camp High School. It is my great pleasure to welcome my friend, Kelsey Briley.
Welcome to After School with Mr. Van Huss. I'm here today with my friend, Kelsey Briley. Kelsey, how's it going?
It's great. It's been a great morning.
We go way back. I first knew you as a student, and you didn't have me, but I think the first way I got to know you is you worked at the Subway restaurant really close to my house. And that was how I was first like, hey, you go to Station Camp, don't you? And so talk to you like that, and then a couple of years later, you became a coworker, and I got to know you even better. One of my favorite homecoming memories was a dress-up day where you had to dress like a superhero. And I did like a Clark Kent look, but had a Superman shirt. And you went the same way with Supergirl. And I still have this picture where we're both like mid-costume change, like there's trouble in the cafeteria. I always remember that. So that was kind of a happy memory. And before I say too much, I want to let you introduce yourself and just tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
So Kelsey Briley, used to be, Briley, Mrs. Briley, whatever, when I was a teacher. But currently I work on staff at Vanderbilt University, and I do data enhancement. It's this term that I never knew existed, but kind of was led this way by two other career paths, and started as a scientist. So I was actually classically trained as a chemist. And I had love for science, and then that love for science kind of morphed and became love for teaching science. And then after a few years of being an educator, I wanted to pivot again and get something that was a little more flexible for my new lifestyle, and got into this world of behind the scenes at a university. And I love it so much.
Very cool. Now, how long have you been with Vanderbilt now?
Been there about a little over 2 years.
Okay.
And since then, it's been really cool to see. I've gotten promoted in 2 years, about almost a year in, I was able to kind of pivot even within the university. And I've really enjoyed, they saw some skills that I had and they were like, let's run with those. And so that's how I was able to pivot from just being a program manager, managing a program, to then, hey, we see that you really like data science brain, and let's use that in a way that and I still get to train a lot of people, so that's where that teaching piece kind of gets to come into play. So it's like this beautiful blend of the two things that I did before this.
So what influenced you to like science? Was there anything like early in your life, or what got your attention on that?
Yeah, somebody you also know, Lindsay Walters. So my high school chemistry teacher, junior year, everybody in the state of Tennessee has to take chemistry. But I'd always really excelled with math, and science was a secondary thing, I feel like. But then math got a little bit harder and I was like, eh. But the science got a lot cooler to me. And so chemistry is this beautiful, this kind of mesh between math and science. And she just was so strict and rigid about how she expectations, and safety is so important in science. And I think that danger was a little bit fun to me. You have to do it this way or it's not good. And so I think that she's really what kicked it off. I said, where do I go to school if this is what I want to do?
And so where did you go? Where did you go to college after here?
To Tennessee Tech.
Right.
So she was like, if you want to go to a school that has a great chemistry program, that you're going to get a lot of one-on-one attention, then you need to go here. So Tennessee Tech was exactly like she said. I was able to start working in a lab as a freshman, just washing dishes, labware, dishes. And so what he was like, my professor was like, once you can do this and I trust you to do clean our glassware properly, then I'll give you some more responsibility, and I'll give you some more responsibility. And so then I ended up doing my master's with that person that I started with freshman year.
That's so important. And that right there is a good lesson for younger people to know is you really have to start out at the bottom a lot of times, and you have to do the most basic task that a lot of times other people don't want to do. And once you prove you can do that, then, you're going to move up the chain and get some more responsibilities and find more success that way. So that's a cool story.
Absolutely.
So I've interviewed a lot of like musicians and authors and things like that. And I always ask them, and I'm interested to see if you have an answer for this. Were there any like heroes in your field? Is there like a famous scientist or anybody that's out there that you looked up to that kind of helped get your attention too, or anything like that?
Mm.
I know it's kind of a tough one from this perspective.
Yeah, I think the classic answer for a female chemist is gonna be Marie Curie. Um, so I think like any kind of female in science that you could see like, wow, like you can do this, you can pursue this is really what but that's like I didn't know a whole lot about her. I think that used to be my if you could have dinner with someone, that was always my answer is like because she's if you watch stuff about her, I mean, she really broke a ton of barriers. And I was a radio chemist, so it was like even more kind of like felt kinship with her because I did work in like nuclear chemistry. And so probably her, I'd say I used to want to be like a cosmetic chemist. That was kind of where I thought I would end up, but you have to live in certain parts of the country to do that. So we pivoted there. We were like, not gonna, I'm living in Nashville, so like what can I do living in Nashville? And see, I didn't have any, it's not exactly as tangible, I feel like, as the music industry. Um, Not like a lot of heavy hitters in the science world that you hear about.
I understand. Yeah, people can throw out, Einstein or, some of the big ones that people
Hmm.
know, but I understand that.
Yeah.
What was high school like for you? You played sports
Hmm.
and stuff, didn't you, from what I remember?
All the sports.
Okay.
I played soccer since I was in third grade, like travel soccer, and then did cross country in middle school, basketball middle school, basketball high school. Then I stopped growing. So basketball was out after I stopped growing. So did soccer and then in the off season would run track because it was a way to kind of stay in shape for soccer. And then tennis senior year when I realized this was a pretty pivotal moment. Miss Walters told me like go to Tennessee Tech for chemistry. So I had to make the decision, am I going to go to a school for science or am I going to go to school for sports? And that's a big decision. I don't know. I think probably a lot of kids still are facing when it comes time to decide. Because I was not at the level where I could probably go to a school and play that like was like top tier, you know. I was maybe like a D3 athlete. And so maybe NAIA even. And some of those schools are maybe not the best chemistry schools. And so when I realized, okay, I'm not going to play in college, I was like, you know what, let's just do something fun. So I played tennis. And so like it was like I don't have to try and like keep my skills up for soccer like and I had a blast. I learned a new skill and had a blast playing tennis. So all the sports in high school, all the sports.
That's very, very cool. Was there any other person? I know Miss Wathers, I think she was very influential to a lot of students that went through here because she was an amazing teacher. And I know when I first started teaching, she was somebody that I wanted to talk to just to like get her perspective on things. And I probably didn't get as many chances as I would like to, and probably didn't make as many chances as I should have. But I know she was somebody that I always looked up to, just being a young teacher and wanted to
Mhm.
do a good job because I could see how she like affected the students.
Mhm.
Um, Two-part question, and
Okay.
this is kind of one I just want your perspective on. Number one, was there anybody else that stood out like at station camp during your time that kind of got your attention that you respected? And
Mhm.
what was it like going from being a student here and a student that was very involved and very well liked? Because like I said, I never had you, but I knew who you were just because other teachers were like, oh yeah, Kelsey's a great kid. You can trust her to do whatever. And going from that to going to the other side of the desk and being a teacher, what was that kind of like?
Yeah. First part, Thurman, was another one that really stood out for me. Coach Thurman was my soccer coach, and then Miss Thurman was my physical science teacher. So she really also probably laid the foundation for the science. Um, I've learned in my life that I like when people are hard on me. And so she is another one that holds a very high standard for her students and but cares about you. You know, you've always got to have that through line of like care. But so she was another really big person when I was a student as well. And then she became a colleague, and that was really cool. That science wing is very welcoming to new people. And so since they're already welcoming to new people, when they were like welcoming a not new person, you know, the transition I would say like wasn't very abrupt. It felt very natural to become a teacher there. I can't imagine doing it anywhere else, honestly. Getting my principal to now be my boss was really cool, really cool. And I didn't have a traditional degree, and I don't know if this is the case for you, but I was going to school to pursue my license when there was a contingency. I had to get hired in order to be in this program. And so Mr. Crook took a big leap with me because I had, you know, all this science background, but I did not have a lick of teaching experience outside of like teaching labs and stuff. So yeah, I don't think it felt really natural to come back. And my brother, I don't know if you know this. Did you know my brother was there with me
Yes.
as a
Yeah.
student?
Yeah.
So that was pretty unique.
Because I
We did
had
all 4
him.
years
He
together.
was actually like one of my students. Yeah. So
I didn't know
I
that.
think he had me for government, I think.
Okay. One of those, yeah,
I
one of those
remember
short
that because at
classes.
first I didn't know he was your brother. And then I think
Yep.
he told me like after I got him, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this.
Yeah, we have a pretty big age gap. And so it was really special that like we started his freshman year was my first day of work. And I had him in class. So that was really cool. And then when I left, he was graduating, and that's actually when I left. And so it was kind of like everything felt very natural and like it was meant to happen the way that it was supposed, like the way that it did.
Well, one thing I've learned about Art Crook over the years is he knows the people to take a chance on. And I've seen him
Yeah.
do that numerous times. And he just, I don't know what it is. It's just like a sixth sense or something. But man, he's good at picking people.
Well, yeah, y'all have several history people that have come back, right? As
Yeah.
students and then teaching.
Braden McMahon teaches across the hall from me now. He had me for government back in the day. Mikey Watkins was here for a few years, and I think
Mhm.
he was right around your class, somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit ahead of you, but somewhere right there. And I know he was here for a few years too. So it's, I know from a teacher perspective, it's super cool to see like former students come back. We've got Oslin here on the math hallway now too, and him and his dad are both up there, and that's
Oh,
so
wow.
cool to see that happen. Because it's, you know, no better feeling as a teacher when you see your former students come walking back through the door on your level. So that's a neat thing. So last question for you.
Mhm.
What is one life lesson that you have learned that you would pass on to high school students today?
I would say gamble on yourself. I've taken 2 big gambles, and if you feel like if you feel compelled to do something and you have the like you just need to have the confidence to gamble on yourself. Um, you know, I had a job in a lab, and I could have just stayed in that job in a lab, and it would have been mundane, but I would have just gone to work every day and come back home and gone to work every day. I mean, it would have been fine, but a tour of high school students came through, and I said, I was so excited to tell them about science. And so I took a gamble on myself and said, like, I'm gonna try and do this. I'm gonna go through all the hoops that it takes to become a teacher. And then when that door felt like it was like ready to close, I was like, I'm leaving this really great job. But and I actually quit before I had a job lined up. But I both of those times I felt such a strong feeling of like, it's gonna be okay. Like you have to take this leap because you're gonna figure it out. So I think you gotta gamble on yourself. Like that's the biggest thing I can say, along with have a great support system. Like lean on your people. That's those kind of go hand in hand. Gamble on yourself and lean on your people would be the biggest things I would say.
I think that is a lesson that I've brought up in so many of these interviews whenever I see
Yeah.
people go in that direction because I think a lot of students, they think they got to have it all figured out like on their first day of college. And,
Yeah.
by the time you walk across that stage at high school graduation and you roll up to your university, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, whatever, they think you got to have your whole future like planned out, written down, and going. And I try to tell kids all the time, you don't. You want
It's
to have
not
an
at all.
idea. It's good to have something to shoot for and have a direction you're going in, but life throws you some like crazy curves sometimes, and you do just have to kind of gamble on yourself. I
Mhm.
never would have dreamed when I graduated high school I would be a teacher. Never saw that in a million years. My mom was a teacher. I was like, I don't really want to do that. And then 30 years old, I'm going back to get my master's degree in education so that I can teach, and didn't start teaching until I was 32. And then kind of had it figured out what I wanted to
Yeah.
do, and, have loved every second of it, but you don't have
12
to
years
figure it
after.
out. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my biggest thing. I've been very blessed with like support system that's like, all right, I guess guess you're doing this. Like
Good
but
luck.
yeah, they always think it's a little bit wild when I come to them with the idea, but they're like, we know you'll work hard and make it happen. So we're here for you.
Well, that's awesome. I know I probably speak for a lot of people in this building when I say we very much miss you being around and getting to see your smiling face on a regular basis. But man, I know you're doing great stuff, and I know you're still out there like influencing people and just being the incredibly awesome person you are. So I know everybody's still here, still cheering for you, just like always.
Thank you. I
And,
appreciate that.
and thank you so much for taking the time to like sit down and talk to me. I'm sure some students are going to get some real value out of this. And I know you're out there. And if any students have any science questions, this is a good person to reach out to. And I can pass along your contact info if
Yes.
anybody needs it for sure.
Yes, please. Please do.
All right, Kelsey, it was great to see you, my friend. And it was good talking to
Thank
you.
you. It's good
Okay,
to
thanks
see
for
you.
staying after school with Mr. Van Huss.